Good evening and welcome to News 360. We are live from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Isa Morning. And
my name is Nanekia Mensah. Coming up in the headlines tonight.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paint, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
Calipo, and Nido Fortigro. Your love, their future.
And coming up, aviation experts caution government to divorce itself from playing a major role in the setting up of a new national airline.
And economists urge government to commit resources to priority areas including education and health in the 2019 budget.
We will bring you the story of Amedeka Ne Akuse, Ghana's first inland port.
And in international news, Egypt security forces kill 19 militants in operation after attack on Christians. Right, we have all the details, including sports and entertainment, coming up this hour. Stay with us as we begin with this accident which has taken place on the Accra-Cape Coast Road. We understand there's an accident on that road, and let's go straight on to our telephone line and speak to our Onia FM reporter who's been at the scene, Kwame Kakraba. Kwame, good evening, and many thanks for your support and for being at the scene to explain to us what exactly happened. Hello, Kwame, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, Kwame, if you have been to the accident scene, which I understand so, what do you gather caused the accident?
Morning, thank you very much. It's a sad note, the accident has occurred on Wuti Senya and a Winneba road just a minute ago. It's all about the Sprinter driver heading to Cape Coast and Salunka heading to Accra. United, and for information, a lot of people are injured. And want to confirm the number of people who are so far dead. You can say many people are dead, but to confirm the number of those who are dead after now, unless the police report. So I can confirm that there's accident that occurred Wuti Senya and Winneba Road, that is Accra Cape Coast Road, where precisely a lot of people have been injured. But so far, police have intervened and they are taking them to Winneba Trauma Hospital. So we are hoping to get the update so I can confirm that accident has occurred Cape Coast Accra Road this evening.
Kwame, do you have an idea how many people have been taken to hospital?
Not yet, but we can see a lot of people just dead at the spot that the accident occurred. For the information we are gathering, to not confirm at least 5 or 6 people at the spot dead, but they are taking them, a lot of people, to really bad trauma. Unless the report comes, we will see that these people, the number of people so far are there. But you can see, you can confirm that a lot of people are being injured, and we have to find out how many are there.
Kwame, I can see about 2 vehicles involved in the accident from the videos we're seeing on our screens right now. Is that all, or there are more than 2 vehicles involved in the accident?
It's two vehicles. Okay. What I'm saying, a Sprinter driver, and saloon car, they collided at the road. But to confirm to you that maybe different car also part of the accident. Now, unless you confirm the police, but what I can say is the 2 cars collided at the Wilbur and Preku Road. And after now, you are trying to get all the speed, but the intervention of the police and fire service, they are taking them all to Wilbur Trump Hospital. So we are here to see whether we can update and get the number of people so far have passed away and those who are injured.
All right. Kwame Kakraba is a reporter at Onia FM, and he brought us updates on that accident on the Cape Coast Road. We apologize. The line is not exactly a great one, but I'm sure we have heard what he has brought to us. Ikea.
Well, it's not too much good news, but I'll be getting you more detail into that particular accident on the Accra Cape Coast Road and be giving you more in subsequent bulletins. But let's move on. And residents of Amedeka, Ghana's first inland port near Akuse, are disappointed. The historical community has been abandoned with its rich history. The then vibrant merchant hub prior to Ghana's independence has now become a ghost community with no infrastructural development. And Anakwikwedia has the rest of the story.
Located within Akuse in the Lower Manya-Krobo district of the Eastern region, Amedeka is one of the multi-ethnic communities in the country due to its proximity to the Kpong River. Fishing remains the mainstay of the people, but history has it that this small dilapidated community held some important historical memories of the country.
This one, the stretching right down. Where you see this building. So where from this building? Well, recently it was this building. So otherwise this whole place is a cocoa shed. Yeah. For the UAC.
According to 69-year-old Evans Nyamesepo, a resident, Amedeka, Ghana's first inland port, used to be a convergent spot for most European companies.
Merchant ships actually identified the estuary of Adan as one of the areas they can pass through to explore the hinterland of the then Gold Coast. As they were coming, they were stopped here by the cataracts, the rocks and the rapids. So Amedeka apparently became what? The last landing stage.
Describing the area as the most vibrant site in history, he showed the news team round most active spot in the then merchant community.
The rail line here, straight right down into the yard of the UTC.
Okay. So why is this so? Why UTC? So that they do what? The UTC?
They've got carriages which bring in their goods here, like the cocoa, and similarly they carry anything that they want to the yard.
So this used to be a rail line?
A rail line.
All the way from the UTC yard?
Across the creek. Yeah. The merchant ship got grounded over here. The greater part is in the water right now.
But it used to be visible enough for
anybody to see.
But I think the river
has come up.
The community, which lost most of its historical richness, has over the years served as a practical learning hub for archaeology students of the University of Ghana.
To understand at least the last 500 years how human beings who lived here, our fellow Ghanaians, interacted with the lower water basin, how they interacted by way of themselves and other ethnic groups. And so essentially what we're doing is to bring our students to that understanding that the future has its past, and that past must be understood particularly through the lens of archaeology.
But Evans Nyamesepo wants government support to improve living conditions of the people in the community and revive its history.
The history of this place gradually but steadily is fading away, and in time to come we will never get anything to show that this had been a very important place in the then Gold Coast.
These dilapidated structures you see in the shot right now used to be trading stores, and this road used to be a very major road linking to the main hub of activities in Amedeka. But unfortunately, this is a pale shadow of its former self. The community is a dead community. It's a ghost town. No activities happening, maybe a dead history as well. From Amedeka, a suburb of Akuse, Nana Kwekwedia, for TV3 News.
Nana Kwekwedia and the ghost town, the town news revival. Definitely, it has to be revived. We will look forward to that. Now, you're watching News 360. And up next, the story of a young man who lost his sight at the age of 10. Gilbert Ejari is now 24 and a level 400 student of the University of Ghana, Legon. Etonam Say has the rest of the story.
The University of Ghana, with a student population of 38,000, admits about 3,000 students annually. Out of this figure, about 25 are students with special needs. 24-year-old Gilbert Ejari is one of such students. He is visually impaired. He tells me his 4-year stay at the university has been remarkable.
The lecturers sell their handouts or books. So we buy these books and we scan them into soft copies. So most of our students, including myself, we have our personal laptops. And when we scan the books, we put it on the laptop. And as I said, the screen reader, which is the JAWS, helps us read every book that we have on our laptop.
23-year-old Emmanuel Gerald Ahing is also visually impaired and a teaching assistant here at the university.
I should say that it comes with certain challenges, but those challenges are not challenges that can't be solved.
He's one of the best students. So after his course, the department normally selects the best students, some of them to be TAs, and he happens to be one of them. And he also happens to be my TA.
Both Emmanuel and Gilbert navigate the university campus without any aid.
One of the things, at least we've tried to do in the last few years, is to give them what we call orientation and mobility education.
At first, people were helping me. But sometimes when the person says he or she wouldn't go for that class, automatically it suggests that you wouldn't also go as well. And I said, no, it shouldn't be like that. So as I speak to you now, at least the most relevant places, lecture halls, my hall of residence, all those places, I do them myself. And I don't require any assistance whatsoever.
The university makes this possible with the help of the Office of Students with Special Needs.
Since the late or the mid-1990s, been making efforts to accommodate students with disabilities in the mainstream.
The university has very serious program for them. I have taught a number of them. And they end up being first-class students. They are good, very good.
We have an app called TalkBack that is used on every Android phone if it is 4.2, I mean the version regarding the Android. And if you download it from the Play Store, it is able to tell you whatever that you do on the screen.
These students have a dedicated library and other facilities which helps with learning.
We, the visually impaired, we normally even pose questions that are very cumbersome to be answered to lecturers. And they themselves also attest to the fact that our performance over the years has been very splendid.
Interestingly, the visually impaired are very conversant with a mobile phone and social media handles. They send and receive messages and conduct research works using their mobile phones.
Social media helps me very much because if there is an information that I need to circulate to my students, or there is any information that my students would also want to give me, or any question of a sort, they do that via social media, especially through the WhatsApp platform. So for instance, we even have a tutorial platform page where we discuss questions, we discuss topics outside of the classroom.
Gilbert Ejare got blind at age 10.
The pastor demonstrated how David was able to kill Goliath by, using a stone to do that. So the pastor threw the stone at the church. And so I didn't know. Somebody called me from the back. So the eyeball itself got broken.
Against all odds, the level 400 political science student is determined to become a diplomat.
I don't allow the so-called disability to serve as an impediment or impede my progress.
He's hopeful of getting a scholarship to pursue his next career in law. Until then, he is basking in the opportunities the University of Ghana offers him as he prepares for his end-of-semester exams. For TV3, Etonamse.
Again, after dropping out of school for many years due to his ill health, he is still eager to start school again. Godwin Ahiachi, a 17-year-old physically challenged person in Agona Nyakrom in the Central Region, dreams of becoming an engineer. Our reporter Lucy Ayambela has been visiting him and she's filed this report.
I met Godwin at home working on his crafts when I arrived at Agona Nyakrom on my first visit to tell his story. He lives in an uncompleted building with his mother. His mother, Isimansa, told me Godwin Ahiati got paralyzed at age 8 when he was in primary 3.
See, folks can have the better than man. So sad for this kind of man.
It all started after his colleague gave him a coin to swallow. Though the coin came out through his anus, he later got ill and that led to this condition.
He could not continue his education due to his ill health and his poor financial background. Godwin's condition, his mother tells me, can be reversed.
17 years, soon I have been 9 years. No much less than 190 pen.
He's 17 years, but he looks like a 9-year-old. I have to bear all the cost involved in his treatment because it is not covered by the health insurance. Due to financial constraints, he is unable to get the required treatment.
Despite his condition, some unknown men attempted kidnapping him some months back.
No sort of sack be a man.
He was found in the bush, unconscious. We took him to the hospital, where he gained consciousness and narrated his ordeal.
Though she is aware living in an isolated area like this can bring them harm, they have no option. Godwin says he finds it difficult using this wheelchair without help since it is oversized. Despite his age and condition, he still wants to pursue his dream of becoming an engineer.
Even if I would have to start from the lower primary, I am ready, since that will help broaden my knowledge and give me a brighter future.
On my second visit, Godwin showed me these crafts he had made. He tells me how he comes about with these beautiful crafts.
I get them in my dreams, and when I wake up, I put them into practice.
His mother helps him by picking up surplus wood from the carpenter's workshop, and skillfully, he carves them into these beautiful things.
It has some gates here. These are the glasses, and then I can see some seats inside as well. There's a ship, and then an aeroplane, as well as some drums. And finally, the coat of arms, an artwork by Godwin Ahiati.
But he is appealing for financial support to enable him undergo treatment and go back to school. Lucy Ayambila, TV3 News, Agunanya Krum.
Godwin dreaming really big there, and I think he needs some support to go there. Now let's strive into the issue of the controversial population control issues. The Executive Director of the National Population Council, Dr. Letitia Adelaide-Appiah, says research and policy direction are the effective ways of controlling population in Ghana. According to her, any decision which is not research and policy grounded in controlling population could make it difficult in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
Article 37, Clause 4 of the 1992 Constitution enjoins government to maintain a population policy consistent with the aspirations, development objectives of the country and ensure population issues are given prominence in its development plans and programs. In demonstrating its commitment to the advancement of population programs, Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African country to sign on to the World Declaration on Population in 1961. Some have suggested that couples should give birth to the number of children they can cater for in controlling population growth. The Executive Director of the National Population Council, Dr. Letitia Adelaide-Appiah, is of the view the most reliable form of population control is a deliberate research and policy implementation by government.
You cannot have informed choice if you don't have the information. Informed choice is based on information, and information that is research, not folklore. Research based with evidence. That is what I think that we should know.
Explaining how important data and information are in taking decisions before bringing forth, she said there are some avoidable pregnancies which pose some risk to mother and child.
In the statistical survey report, they talk about avoidable high risk, avoidable births, and then talks about unavoidable births. You know, the first child is unavoidable, even though it is high risk. So the first birth is considered as an unavoidable high risk. But it is unavoidable because we need to reproduce ourselves. If it is below 18 years, of course, it is also unavoidable high risk.
As a policy to also check population explosion, taxpayers who are sponsoring the education of their children or was in any recognized registered education institution in Ghana qualify for tax relief.
NEWS360 is live on TV3 and also available on channel 279 on DSTV. We'll be back with some more stories.
This is NEWS360. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's look at one of our headline stories now. And economist Professor Cletus Dodonu is urging government to commit resources to priority areas including education and health in next year's budget. According to him, plans by government to raise a $50 billion century bond could yield positive results if the funds are used judiciously.
With less than a month to the reading of the 2019 budget and economic statements, expectations are already high about how government intends to raise revenue and areas it is likely to expand. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has hinted government intends to raise a $50 billion century bond to help finance major infrastructure projects. If it succeeds, this will be the first and biggest bond issuance by the country. Speaking with TV3 Business, Professor Dodonu says the money should be used judiciously.
I expect the budget to lay emphasis, for instance, on this whole idea about education. Let us not deceive ourselves that education is free. Somebody is paying. Taxpayers are paying the bill. So we still need money. We have to raise revenue. If we don't have it, go get it. Let the infrastructure not be handled by short-term facilities.
The reading of the budget comes at a time over 1 million Ghanaians, according to the Center for Socioeconomic Studies, have lost their jobs since 2017. The job cuts span the industrial, banking and mining sectors, as well as the media and services sector. Professor Dodonu expects government to create an enabling environment for the private sector to function.
48% of the youth are unemployed. Find job for them. But government should not be in the business of creating jobs directly. They should create the environment. The private sector of Ghana is very tough. Even with the high cost of doing business, they are still on the road trying to make a living.
Aviation experts have cautioned government to divorce itself from playing a major role in the setting up of a new national airline. Speaking at the first Airbus Aerospace White Paper launch in Toulouse, France, Vice President of the International Air Transport Association, Raphael Kuchi, encouraged government to own minority shares and allow the private sector to drive it.
Ghana has been without a national carrier after 2010, when Ghana International Airlines collapsed because of indebtedness and what many perceive to be government overindulgence. In March 2015, the government of Ghana was expected to start its own airline, but that did not happen. Again in 2016, the October deadline was missed. Ghana's immediate past aviation minister, Cecilia Dapa, in 2017 announced a new airline will start in at least 2 years' time. Panelists at the Airbus Aerospace White Paper launch agree operations of air transport in Africa is a tricky business, urging African countries eager of owning a national airline to be cautious.
Those governments that have ambitions to set up national airlines, you can call them national airlines, you can call them state-owned airlines, but let the driving force be the private sector.
This is against suggestions by other aviation experts who believe it is about time Ghana gets its own airline to compete with foreign airlines that have taken advantage of the vacuum to make money. Vice President of the International Air Transport Association, Raphael Kuchi, said government's role should be to create an enabling environment and not to be seen doing business.
If government, for whatever reason, wants to have a stake in this airline, it can take a minority stake in the airline, but allow private sector to drive. In any case, government might not have the resources to invest in a capital-intensive industry like airline.
He also blamed the poor aviation market in some African countries on geopolitical issues like terrorist attacks that tend to impact traffic flow. Thomas Adotei Papo, Toulouse, France.
And in a related development, Minister of Aviation Joseph Kofi Adda has hinted of the possibility of government allowing the construction of private airports referred to as jetports. Now, he noted studies are underway to identify locations that can be used as private airstrips and airports.
The addition of private airports and strips to the public ones will help in the accelerated development and expansion of the country's aviation infrastructure. Minister of Aviation has indicated government's plan to woo the private sector into the building and operation of airstrips and airports.
The vision is simply to ensure that the whole nation has got access to all kinds of aerodromes where we can send an aircraft anytime we need it, whether for commercial reasons, in terms of passengers traveling there, or even lifting agricultural produce and send that abroad. So all these are things that we are assessing. We'll package the final aspect of the policy in terms of what should qualify for a particular spot to be maybe private airport or state airport and that sort of thing. It won't be long, we're making the announcement and you'll all be privy to it.
With the increased business in both domestic and international travel, emergency landing sites are of vital importance. In the event of a mechanical problem or bad weather, the existence of backcountry airstrips or private airports provide the opportunity to make emergency landing. Executive Chairman of SACFORCE Holding, Dr. Abu Sakara, said the idea of building smaller airfields and private airports is long overdue.
People who are into, field research and are working, they can have a plane there, take them to a district and come back. This is very common in East Africa, actually, where for most of the districts, if they go to the small aircraft airfield, you can have, a small plane charter it to take you there and come back, and it's quite reasonable. This is what is missing.
MP for Tamale North Alhaji Al-Hassan Saibu Suyuni noted over the years various governments have taken steps to expand aviation infrastructure to make both domestic and international air travel easy.
It was as a result of deliberate work at expanding the Tamale airport, and that is why today you have that kind of business. You can talk about the Kumasi airport and the works that were done there, and the attempt by the current government to also improve upon what was left behind.
The availability of private and state airports and strips in the rural, peri-urban and urban areas is key for emergency responses and very critical in healthcare delivery.
In other news tonight, Agate Enterprise and Transport Services has organized a capacity building workshop for its members. The workshop is aimed at ensuring safety of the roads as Christmas approaches.
Participants at the workshop were taken through road safety and major road traffic laws and drunk driving in Ghana and its legal implications and the safety of the roads. According to the Deputy CEO of Agate Enterprise and Transport Limited, Patrick Bediakon, the company has identified festive seasons, particularly Christmas, as periods that most road accidents are recorded. He was hopeful the sensitization workshop will go a long way to reduce road accidents during the Yuletide.
Agate Transport has been involved in organizing programs,
But this time, we wanted what we call driving management science, just to make sure that driver skills are upgraded and updated so that accidents will be minimized.
The Chief Executive Officer for Road Safety and Transportation Consultancy, Dr. Godfrey Achiadakwa, indicated road accidents occur as a result of drivers' disregard for transport regulations, describing it as unacceptable.
Crashes on the road will never stop. The festival crashes will never stop. It will still avail until all vehicle owners, until all drivers, until government, until National Road Safety Commission take it as the #1 policy that education and training of drivers is the sole thing that we need to do to bring accidents down.
The Managing Director of Agate Enterprise and Transport Services, Asarokobna Jumwa, stressed this will go a long way to help them keep the road safer.
SDF, looking at it with Agate and RSTC, have hold this program to reduce accidents on road. And then also as an investor, if you ask me, if you buy this huge equipment, being the vehicle, and the driver is holding it on road, you also protect your investment.
Agate Enterprise and Transport Limited is a transport service delivery company which deals with provision of contract bus and services to reputable organizations such as banks, manufacturing companies, and rendering of social services.
Right, so let's move away from aviation and transport to healthcare, as health workers at the Bato Children's Hospital in the Volta region have run out of patients as an abandoned young boy believed to be mentally ill disrupts their work with persistent hyperactivities. Pediatric doctor in charge of the unit, Dr. Antoinette Ikuban, has called on the Department of Social Welfare to honor their mandate to save the patients at the facility and the young boy's life.
The young boy has been on the children's ward for over 8 weeks. The hospital explained the father of the boy took him to the caregiver's lodge, but the boy's behavior made it difficult for the lodge to give him care. The father absconded later. The caretaker brought the boy to the ward after days of making reports to the hospital administrator and the mental health unit. Both institutions have no information on the boy. According to the nurses at the hospital, initial examination indicated the boy was normal but cannot speak. However, he behaves erratically by screaming intermittently with hyperactivity. Further assessment resulted in developmental delay and psychosis diagnosis.
Because of his hyperactivity, he can be disturbing even as work is in progress. So he has to be restrained in bed. And even upon doing so, he finds a way of losing the tie and coming out, and he can defecate and mess up the whole ward, sometimes spit on patients and some of the staff. So it's really a challenge.
When contacted, the district social welfare team said efforts to place him in a permanent facility never materialized.
With his situation, we don't know the parents. We don't know the whereabouts of the parents. So getting a home for him now is the problem. For the special school, we don't have any problem with that. But if we are able to get a home, we can get him to the assessment center to be assessed, then bring him to the special school. So when they are on vacation, then we take him to the home, and that is how we'll be doing it, as and when we can get the parents.
Currently, the hospital management, as well as the children's ward staff, contribute towards his upkeep in terms of food, clothes, and care.
In fact, you have to do virtually everything for Kojo. The moment you finish doing that, he soiled himself, and then you have to go and bath him and feed him again. In fact, it is very challenging.
Bator Government Hospital says its healthcare delivery is hampered by inadequate ward assistants and nurses.
Well, apologies to our viewers if you felt a bit uncomfortable seeing that child eating those things from the floor. You're watching News 360. Let's move on with some other stories. Having your past work for you as an exercise, most people have not attempted to think about. But to make this easier and workable, author Francis Kwabena Atta has outdoored his latest book titled The Future in the Past to motivate readers to have their past work for them.
The 128-page book makes use of great characters who have existed and changed the world to motivate readers to reach their goals. Some of these characters are drawn from the Bible and world politics, such as David, Paul, and Nelson Mandela. At the launch of the book in Accra, author Francis Kobenata indicated he was motivated by the character David in the Bible to put the book together.
The one who is able to shake off the current circumstances and face the future squarely, because he is fueled by the motivation of his past experiences. This is the true healthy person.
During the review of the book, a legal practitioner, Joseph Ansan, stressed the book will serve as a life-changing manual for readers.
In the introductory literature, the writer tells how relevant it is for us all to live in the present. The past is gone and the future is far-fetched. He quotes at one of his pages, "I have nothing to do with yesterday. It was mine, and now it is gone."
Remember, we're live on Channel 279 as well as TV2 Ghana on Facebook. This is NEWS360. We're taking a breather. Right, so this particular one raises a lot of debates in the entertainment circles. When gospel musicians sing in church and at church concerts, are they evangelizing or they are supposed to charge? Well, Owusu reports it comes across as a controversial subject, and expectedly opinions about it appear sharply divided.
The church has been the place where most gospel and non-gospel talents are discovered. A number of pastors believe gospel artists should not demand fees since their act constitutes the work of God. But should gospel musicians get paid or charged to perform in churches?
Honestly, I sing in the churches when I'm invited, and I even might give to the church. In most cases, I give to the church, depending on how I'm led. So I'm not so much inclined or pushed to come and collect money from churches.
Don't charge.
I don't charge.
Singer Hannah Abadonko expects to be compensated when she performs in the church.
It's not for business, but when an artist is coming for a program, they used petrol. They brought instrumentalists to play. You know, instrumentalists will take their money.
Renowned gospel musician Reverend Nana Pebi shares a different opinion.
If you need me to come and worship with you, I'll come and worship with you, so long as it goes with my calendar. I believe it is God who blesses people. I know with this that I'm saying, a lot of musicians, a lot of artists will stand against it, but it's their own opinion.
Some musicians, however, argue that a lot of time and money goes into rehearsals for performances and must be well compensated.
Sometimes you may not charge, but you know, the pastor will also not bless you. And in this case, you have to pay the instrumentalist, you have to pay for the petrol.
You're doing the work of God. And so
you're doing the work of God.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the instrumentalists you're going with, they are taking their money. They know they are doing the work of God, but they will not play for free.
The Momentum worship singer and worship leader, Reverend Nana Pebi, has graced several church platforms performing with his 37-man band. Does Nana Pebi charge to perform with his band?
If I'm coming with my instrumentalists, sometimes I decide to pay my instrumentalists to come with them. Other times, I may decide to sieve down the instrumentalists or the number of instrumentalists. I'll still pay them and come. So if I'm bringing my band of 37 to your church, obviously you can't pay. But maybe God wants me to bless your church with that. So I'll come and bless them with that.
The gifted singer cautioned his fellow gospel stars not to be inclined to always take from the church, urging them to pray and discern before taking appointment.
If God wants somebody to earn from the church, he will lead the person. Just pray and know the monies to take. There are some monies we don't take, and there are some monies we take.
But which money is takeable and which one is not?
Imagine going to a church of 35 people, and then you go and then you charge them so much, and they give the church offering to you. Are you causing damage to the church? Or
And now, this jockeying prodigy, DJ Switch, performed to welcome the Prince of Wales as he visited Jamestown in Accra. Upon request, the Prince met and interacted with children, including DJ Switch. Aside playing for the gathering of dignitaries, Ghana's youngest DJ also took part in a mini-sketch to entertain the dignitaries, which included the Duchess of Cornwall and the First Lady. For a performance, DJ Switch received a royal handshake from Prince Charles. The Prince gave the fast-rising DJ a big thumbs up for her exploits.
Oh, Issa, I hope she has a clear picture of that handshake.
Absolutely.
Not the back view I just saw.
I mean, this is one, it's historical, isn't it?
It is,
and
of course.
She can keep it in her album for the rest of her
Definitely.
life.
Well, that's how we wrap up on the bulletin tonight with myself and Issa. But well, remember that we still have another thrilling week for the ladies. Ghana's Most Beautiful 2018. This is the life. It's up next. Right.